True story. But I'll tell you guys. Okay, let me start off. First off, hi. Hey. Hi. I'm Ben Hamby. I have many personas. The steampunk one is Captain Simultaneous of the Delirium of Grandeur. He has a twin brother, Simultaneous. There's Samuel and Simultaneous, and their father is Winstontaneous. It goes on like that. Stupid names because I think that a lot of people take steampunk way too seriously. So I created the ship called the Delirium of Grandeur because everyone in the steampunk universe seems to have one. So why not celebrate it, enjoy it, and poke fun at it with a stick.
Is it a sharp one?
A sharp, pointed stick.
Yes.
A pointed.
Kind.
What about if someone's coming at you with a pointed stick? No, we're going to do bananas. If anybody knows that reference,
Yes.
you're welcome home. This is what's going to end up happening in this thing. This panel is usually run by my Steamworks doll. Some of you might have met her at other shows. Her real name's Kay. Her character is Ilsebeline. Thank God you came in here because you make clothing. So you're coming up here and sitting up front. Come here, Rick. Yep, sorry. And he's on the panel! Yes. So, I mean, like, I do build stuff. I made my code and all this kind of, like, that sort of thing. But she is a seamstress. She builds the stuff. She does all of our embroidery work. She is amazing and awesome and disturbingly encyclopedic with her knowledge of patterns. And like you'll go, well, I want to build a bustle dress. And she'll go, okay, well, Butterick pattern 1241 and Butterick patterns, I mean, like she can just do that, which is, yeah, it's terrifying. But that's why we built her. To scare us, apparently. So that is what the panel usually is, because it's usually her running it, and it is one solid hour of so much information. This is not going to be that. We're going to talk about steampunk as a look, as a lifestyle, the basic tenets and styles of it, and then we're going to turn it into a big fat Q&A, and we're going to talk about, well, where do you get that stuff? How do you make that stuff?
And show and tell if anybody has.
And show and tell if anybody has any show and tell. Apparently, this thing could be connected to this thing, and we could make that thing show pictures of different things.
To the left of you is the cable connect.
Wow. But I don't want people to see all the porn.
Then don't open up the porn yet.
Yeah.
Open up the stuff you want them to see and then pick it up.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, it's an 18 and up show. Bring on the steam porn.
Hell yeah.
This is where steampunk came
We're all okay with it.
So, if we can handle boobies. Sometimes, actually, literally.
No, yeah.
Huge, massive, tracts of land. We're going to live in Monty Python then. So, steampunk as a aesthetic movement for clothing, fashion, and etc. Wow. I actually did send out a massive thing of different types of pattern companies and stuff like that, so I'm going to pull that up and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk for a second while I start.
I'm Bryant from the Brass Apple. I do actually make some of my own stuff when my sewing machine actually works. It's not, and I'm not going to deal with that.
My sewing machine is named Stephanie.
No, actually, she doesn't know how to sew. I'm actually the one who does the sewing, and I do work with anything from leather to the fabrics. But I'm not like the ooh, come to me, tailor stuff, etc. That would be more like Kay or him. So for me, obviously, if you came from the multicultural panel, I like to deal with cultural influences, getting that all mixed in, the nifties and all that. So I'm a great resource for being able to hunt down some of that for your costumage, and how to pull it off, etc. And then then I do, the wife and I both, as well as our third, who's down at the table.
The wife.
Stephanie. Steffi and no, she's the wife. So we do actually create fashion accessories. There's a lot of people that make steampunk clothing. So we decided we're going to work with the accessories, the things to add to your outfit, to give it the ooh and the ah and the shiny and the cultural something. So we decided to deal on that. Part of it also is because I find a lot of times, one, people are lacking in accessories, so they don't know what to put with it. But two, they'll easily find the outfit. They're like, oh, I got this outfit, and it's great. And so then I'm like, oh great, let's make an accessory for you. Haha. Because you find that accessory, and then you decide, oh, I need an outfit for it. It's a lot harder to go that way. It really, really is. So Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick. From Designs by Talent.
He's also Talon. Don't get
He's
confused.
also
He's
Talent.
Rick Talon. Rick Talon, that's like the toughest guy. Now you're
Rick
right.
Talon.
It's like Guy Noir. Rick Talon, tailored to but Steve Taylor.
Down and out. So manly. All right.
I actually started with Renaissance. Couldn't afford to buy it, so I had to learn how to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
And,
getting to do this.
How many of you guys are independently wealthy? Just, I mean, like seriously. Apart
we
from.
want to know you if you are.
Yeah, I was about to say, but any of us are up for adoption and all of that side. Late
We
adoption.
will find
it's
ways
fine.
to become family.
I know how to cook. It's cool. But also, I talk about a lot whenever I do all of that. Sorry to jump in.
No,
But like you said, a lot of this stuff ends up being exceedingly expensive to purchase directly from a store. I mean, the beauty of Etsy and the beauty of coming to shows, you get to meet people, you get to find out what they make, and a lot of the times you can find, even if it is one-of-a-kind handmade stuff, less expensive than some of the stuff that's coming out of, other stores. So please carry on, and then I'll jump in and we'll start talking about actually steampunk fashion and all of that.
You guys
My
start.
partner is Chinese, so I said, why do you go to Renaissance fairs dressed in English? Why don't you go with Chinese? Chinese wear around. Because you can't find Chinese, so.
You do know that there are other countries.
Yeah.
Do they have flags?
No flag, no country.
They have flags that are not the British flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although at one time, particularly in the steampunk era, most of them were.
Yeah.
So at any rate, we started doing Asian, and that's what we really specialized in. I've done some steampunk, I've done some superhero, I've done some original, and I also do fashion.
Are you from the Austin area?
I'm from Boston. I'm, right now this year, I'm concentrating on fashion. I'm getting ready to launch a fashion line in the fall.
Which is
So
awesome.
I'm working on that. But I see costuming as fashion. I don't see costuming the way a lot of people do. And I think if you're making a costume, you're making clothes. And that's the way to look at it. And Frank, my partner, does a panel, which I don't know why he didn't do it this year, but it's a costuming 101, he calls it. But it's not your normal costume 101. It's all based on how to get a good costume with good fabric, made well, and not have to cut your arm and leg off.
Right.
And
Which makes you use less fabric, which is all right.
well, even he doesn't even do that, but he tells you his idea in the panel is kind of our philosophy. Know what it is you need. Have some idea how it's made, even if you can't make it, so that you know it's being made right. And then use the best fabric you can.
Yeah.
And we have friends that a while back were doing costuming do that anymore, they know.
Yeah, I mean, how many of you guys have seen the sateen lining
Yeah.
material used as the capes and the clothing? And I mean, I've seen it everywhere. People do it all the time because one, you look at it and you're like, well, that looks like the shiny material from the movie. So you know, if I'm making a Superman cape, that cape is shiny. So I'm going to do this $1.99 stuff, and it's light and flimsy and cheap, and light cuts through it, and it runs, and it's horrific. It happens all the time. We'll talk about fabric choice, absolutely, because it's a huge portion of this.
Very important.
If you're going to be building your own costumes, we're going to talk about costume. Okay, let's start off costume as clothing. Me personally, my own personal philosophy is that I don't like to wear costumes, I like to wear clothes. I can wear I mean, like I have some like muscle suit pieces for a great big 7-foot green guy from Hack Slash, which nobody reads, but that's okay.
No, I watch.
No, the comic?
Oh,
Not the anime. See, immediately at an anime convention, I'm talking about the other Hack Slash. So, never happened. So, that happens. But, a lot of the time, whenever you're basing costumes, particularly steampunk, which is one of the reasons I love it, a lot of people base it in historical fiction. Steampunk as a movement started with the whole Victorians advancing their technology. It started actually when the Victorians were writing about it. H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, they were talking about a technology that they didn't have. And it just kind of advanced from there. It has now bloomed into anything. There is post-apocalyptic steampunk, where everything is blown up and we've gotten back to where we can use steam again. There are people who do time travel. Hello, H.G. Wells. But they also do it so that they have modern pieces. And then, my friends, the airship is. Are you seriously going to wear that thing through this thing? Take the bell off right now.
That much of it.
The bell goes on the table. Put the bell on the table, or else
the brass apple.
or else it gets the hose again. So, he wants the hose again. Ladies. So, my friends, the airship Isabella, they wear, big leather asymmetrical armor that's covered in brass and doodads and doohickeys, and it is the biggest accessory in the world. I mean, it's like wearing every piece of your jewelry at once.
I call it walking trash heaps.
But I refer to them as the Steamborg. To your faces, it's not like I'm being rude.
Yes.
I'm being funny, but I'm not, and they love it. They think it's hysterical, but that's and you look at them and you go, look, steampunk. You look at people who do a lot of circus stuff, like dust punk era stuff, but they have the steampunk elements. They have that, people, whenever they think of steampunk, they think brown. The Victorians didn't. The Victorians weren't actually in sepia tone, everyone. There was color, really. Now, after Albert died, they wore a lot of black, and I see a lot of people go that kind of dark, gothic look, and then they throw some goggles on their head. And
The English
magically
wore a lot of black.
The Victorian English wore a lot of black.
The Irish, the French, the Scots, whatever.
But the thing is that Victorian men and women of the time were peacocks. We were just getting artificial dyes for the first time. Ridiculous, bright, beaming, stupid color. You can do it. There's also a big group of people that are called Nerf punk that dress in the yellow and orange of the Nerf guns because people modify Nerf guns to be steampunk stuff. I love them. They are made entirely of rigid beams of awesome. But what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of ideas of what steampunk is and what it is not. What steampunk is, have an idea. Have an idea as to where your character comes from, what your character is. Know their world, and build from there. If you just want a generic steampunk outfit because you think it looks cool, you have an idea of what looks cool, and we work from there. I personally like I said at the beginning, clothing, not costume. All of my pieces come from history. My pants, which are absolutely period correct for the late 1800s, you can't see because it's on the vest, but the waistband is like up right under your nipples, and you wear suspenders. It's ridiculous. But it's the pants of the period. The shirt is a bib shirt for guys. If you want Victorian era shirts, Western wear stores. They haven't changed their pattern yet.
Well, actually, that's just for most men's fashion to begin with.
And, the basic essentials for men, if you're going to go with a Victoriana version of steampunk, pants, generally high-waisted. Some of them have a, like a two-seam, or they have the drop seat. They have these have the riding seat. Woo! Yeah, so not necessarily in a different color, like this one, which is like, oh, by the way, what riding seat? A usually not with buttons, but a French style shirt with holes for the push-through button cufflinks is what they studs. Thank you, button studs. Yeah, button studs. Although they certainly did have manufactured, button.
Floor stores, basically the tuxedo shirts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of them are still designed with, they'll have the buttons on there, but they also have the holes for the button studs to be able to work with.
Because
Depending on your look.
vest, single, double-breasted. The other thing is that again, this is basing in Victoriana. If you're basing, look up history. You can go online and say, my character is from the 1870s. Well, 1870s men fashion. You will never run out of pages that have it. Same thing for the ladies. The dresses change drastically, and we talked about, one of the things we talk about is the difference between steampunk and neo-Victorian.
Gadgets versus not.
It's really in the accessories.
Yeah.
A lot of people will try to tell you they are completely different animals.
I mean, also what he's wearing, he'd probably be called more neo-Victorian.
Neo-Victorian,
But as soon as you throw gadgets on him, steampunk.
which entertains me, because no, I'm steampunk. But
The Victorian era, the style of women's clothing changed about every 10 years.
it really did.
But it was all basically the same. It was how they did it.
Well, the natural line, the full bustle,
The
the
fabric
partial
usage.
bustle,
Yes.
yeah.
Fabric patterns.
Yeah.
That would be what changed.
And Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
color differences. So,
And where you work.
and exactly. And then we get into the whole, what country are you in? Where are you basing
Yeah.
your
Well, even
character
just
out of?
comparing, like, say, it's like Victorian America, comparing the south to the north.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Two whole different
Hugely
fashion
dramatic.
sense.
I would
And
love
both of those
to see
completely
some
different,
antebellum
British.
steampunks.
Yeah.
Some absolute Southern belle, but then also walking around and going, those Yankees will never take my land with big cannons. Yes. I mean, like, where Scarlett can say she doesn't give a damn right before she blasts the
And seriously, walk around with like a parasol so that it's kind of hiding the shoulder cannon.
And then,
And then they'll like flip up on the back.
So, I'm gonna give some websites and some crafting tip sites, and then we'll start talking about what you guys are looking for, what you're looking to build, because that's what I like this panel to be. I mean, I can give you pattern numbers and all of that. I can research all of that for you right here online, or we can talk about neat things.
Has anyone lived outside of Texas? In a colder state?
Very.
Okay. So you grew up probably with the whole idea of layers, layers, layers from your mom, right? Steampunk. It's all about layers. First you start with your clothing layers, and then you get your accessory layers, and your gadget layers. I mean, like Rick, with a lot of the outfits that he makes, what's great about them is it's the base outfit. It's your starting point. He's not making one that's like already all decked up and got it out and everything, and that's what you're buying. No, you're buying like the base. And then you can work from there. And you go with the base.
Boots and cats. Boots and cats. Boots and cats. Boots and cats.
So you're working from that. And even your clothing might have layers.
Talking about boots and cats.
Yeah, like with what he's wearing, he could actually have started out without the jacket even, or even without the vest. That's his first layer is just that under one, and then you build on top of it, you build on
I should have totally brought my brass gun piece. So, yeah.
And then the brass con.
I like that you like my brass gun.
So keep that in mind too when you're building, and when you're looking and you're shopping for stuff, especially if you're thrift store shopping. Stephanie and I are so masters at thrift store shopping for Steampunk.
Yeah.
She has 2 entire Steampunk outfits that are all thrift store purchases.
There's another chair over there, and you can slide in, or,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of, yeah.
So it is possible to
Some
find.
gentlemen go and grab that chair and take it across so she can sit with her friend.
My goodness.
We're talking about Victorian people and Victorian manners.
And then introduce yourself to her.
And then, have her friend introduce her.
Oh, yeah, or something like that.
Actually, you need a chaperone to introduce. I'm the chaperone.
Fashion, not etiquette. Fashion, not etiquette.
It's true. Yeah, oh, good lord, we could do an entire
So,
panel on Victorian etiquette.
There is it is possible to get very nice looking outfits thrift store, especially
Thank
if
you
you're
very
working
much.
on the layering, and especially if you're a guy, because again, our fashion changes.
Not much.
Like every 50, 75 years, if even that.
But the formal wear
yeah,
is
Never
so
like
good.
shame.
Yeah,
So-
there's a lot, and speaking of, you were talking about the collared shirts and the western wear. Women, if you're looking for something for the explorer outfit, things like that, you're going to want to probably look in the men's for those shirts. We have that experience there. They're just too frilly in the women's, and you're not going to see this archaeologist explorer type woman wearing the frill because she
But
knows
you can.
it's gonna get dirty.
And to reverse that, men can shop in the ladies.
Yes.
A lot of the time, so especially for our boots.
Oh yes.
Oh,
yes.
good lord, our boots.
I'm not wearing them today, but I've got the big old tall leather boots with the big fur thing, and they're women's boots.
Let me talk.
No, of course not. You're worse than I am about it. No, go ahead. But yeah, feel free to look into the others. The overalls that I wore yesterday, women's. Because you can't find men's overalls in a thrift store. They go like that.
When we go into Victorian, particularly whenever you're talking about costuming, one of the biggest things is it drives me absolutely nuts that you'll see some men and women, mostly men, who have $3,000 worth of costuming on them and tennis shoes.
Yeah.
It rips out I worked at the Renaissance Festival for years and years and years, and we call them shoe gums. There are all different types of gums, and shoe gums is what, because they're wearing, a $6,000 leather outfit, and tennis shoes, and usually sunglasses.
But I understand, because it's really hard as a guy
But it is
to go and
very-
spend like $100 or more on a pair of shoes or boots or something like that, and not cringe when you're doing it for your costume.
It's very,
But you can do it for the rest of your outfit easy.
But, I mean, we are lucky in that we live in Texas and boots are, uniform. And I buy square toe boots because they have a historical look. It absolutely has nothing to do with the time period. Actually, most gentlemen's footwear, the square toe is not correct, but it looks right. And we talk about that too, because I am not a purist as far as purists would lose their mind with this outfit because the pants are 1860s, the shirt is 1880s, the vest is Renaissance, and then the jacket is 1700s. But it looks right? I mean, it flows. So that's what matters more than,
Looks right, not just right.
than that time accuracy. Whenever you're talking about time accuracy, that's whenever you're getting into Neo-Victorian and the other stuff. So, some crafting tips. ThisToThat.com. Do you want to know how to glue or attach anything to anything else? ThisToThat.com is literally a database that you can I would like to glue a penguin to the bumper of a 1969 DeSoto. Okay, it might not be that specific, but it's close. But yeah, it tells you some of your, I'm gonna look it up right now actually. Penguin.
Recently added, just 2 minutes ago.
So ThisToThat.com is one of my favorites. I tend to use E6000 or CA glue. CA glue is,
Ventilate.
yeah, CA glue is, super glue has 3% of the chemical that's in CA glue, which is the 100% version thereof. It's terrifying and it melts certain types of plastics
And
to the
phones.
other type, and, you don't use it on phone. They have foam safe ones, but you can get it in hobby stores, like Hobby Town. You usually can't get it in places like Hobby Lobby or places, because danger.
Is it one of those where you have to use it all
No,
in that one opening?
No, no, no,
because it dries up? you
no,
know,
it closes up
itself?
and then, that's a lot of the two-part epoxies and stuff like that. You have to mix in a certain amount, and that's what you
Well,
use. And
Actually, I was
things
gonna
like
say E6000, I don't use it that much, and part of the reason why is because I use some of the other glues enough to where my big tube of E6000, I've used it once or twice, and then it just,
It dries out.
it basically becomes a big plastic gel,
Right.
and unusable. I don't use it enough because of that, but I love Loctite. The various things of Loctite are wonderful.
A really good substitute for the 6000 that doesn't get hard after you open it, shoe glue. Shoe glue will glue anything to anything.
The shoe glue's not
Whether
bad.
it's a smooth surface or even sort of rough. You pull it and it peels off.
And it's another one that will
But it's
rubberized
tight.
if you
Yeah,
don't
I'll say.
use it after a long enough time, so that's another problem too.
And the shoe goo, one of the best things about shoe goo is that it's a flexible.
Yes.
It's,
Yes.
so a lot of the stuff that we build in leather, we build in or leatherette or whatever, and you wear it. If you're gluing something together that you're going to wear, there's going to be a flex point to it. No matter how little, no matter where it rides on your clothing, on your costume, there's going to be points where it brushes against things, it moves. That's why you don't want to use things like straight super glue or things like that, because whenever they dry out, they just crack off. And you might break the material before you'll break the glue, but that's why you don't necessarily always use what you would normally expect. Oh, super glue for everything. Super glue hardens. It doesn't flex. It doesn't have any give. The reason why I talk about CA glue is because I also build like stormtrooper armor and all of that stuff, and it actually will chemically melt ABS to other ABS. And
But that's what it's supposed to
it's
do.
welding.
Yeah, you're plastic welding.
Yeah.
If you're going to work with any of those things that are super glue-like, etc., I suggest having a can of cooking spray, like Pam, handy. If you glue yourself to yourself, you spray it on and start to get the movement in there, it will actually start to dissolve.
It'll seep in and get in there.
Yeah, it's one of the few, it
Super glue.
contains a component that's one of the solvents for super glue.
And it's a lot more safer than uncure on your pants.
Yeah, and uncure on your, or of course, nail polish remover will break that stuff up too.
With the 100% glue that you were just mentioning in the stormtrooper armor for welding and whatnot, like,
Yeah.
what purpose does that do in building the suit? Like, how do you need to weld pieces together?
Okay, several
Pieces
of
that don't move.
several of the, like the helmet has to be molded in multiple pieces because you can't vacuum form all the way, because it would go up underneath and then you would break the vacuum form table, or at the very least break your mold. So you have to effectively plastic weld those things together. The forearm bracers, you have to put shims on to hide the seams and things like that, and all that goes on with CA, and somebody is having a good time. Another thing for, another site for you guys, Instructables.com. If you don't know about it, I weep for you. But I also celebrate because you're about to lose a week of your time. If there is anything that you've ever wanted to do, I promise someone else has done it and made a video of it.
Yeah, it's a how-to, they have written instructions along with various video portions throughout the entire how-to.
So if there's any particular thing on top of that, if you would like a personal human Instructables, I, at my shop, throw make and take parties where like a bunch of people are like, hey, I'd like to make my own goggles because I don't want to buy them. You buy the base materials, come to my shop, we'll build them all together, I'll show you how, you can use my leatherworking tools and all of that stuff, and then you take it with you. I also do that with products, and like if you, like since I work with leather and I work with ABS and I work with all these things, I have these tools and stuff that you're not going to build a vacuum form table at your house because you want one.
Although
plastic
Instructables.com probably has.
Oh, no, they have like 4 or 5 that are.
Yeah, they probably have the how-tos on how to actually build your own.
They even have the 3D
Yeah.
now too.
Yeah, 3D printer.
Yeah,
Wow.
I do not have a 3D printer. I do not.
Now, what is your, is that?
I'm here in Austin.
In Austin, okay.
I'm here in Austin, and I also want to just start throwing maker parties.
And what-
You guys
Yeah.
make
It's
stuff.
so much fun.
We just all need to get together and like make them.
Well, and he's in the North Austin area, and for anybody who's in the South Austin, we're gonna start running a once a month thing through Hobby Lobby, using their craft rooms, the teaching rooms, etc. And I don't know yet if it's gonna be in the South Park Meadows, which is the Slaughter area, or if it's gonna be up a little closer to like Lamar and Ben White area, the Hobby Lobby that's there. But one of those two is where we're gonna hold those. It'll be once a month, probably at the beginning of the month kind of thing.
Cool.
And it's just gonna be literally like bring stuff in, and if it doesn't matter what we're working on, it's like if you need help on working on it or whatever, come on in. We will help you, because we'll probably have somebody that knows how to work with it.
Right.
Every now and then we might focus on something specific, but it'd be kind of one of those things where we can announce ahead of time so you know.
Will you announce them on like websites or
Yes,
Facebook?
Facebook.
Yeah,
for
I was about to
sure,
say,
our website.
friend, I don't know, I can't say for him, but friend me on Facebook, friend you on Facebook?
Yeah,
Or friend or like the Brass
Brass
Apple.
like the Brass Apple, or you can subscribe to.
Yeah, seriously, just
us
friend me.
individually, but yeah.
It's just easier. And you'll get all my rambles, and I apologize, but, you know.
What's your, full name?
It's Ben Hamby, Ham as in monkey, BY.
Okay.
And he also has the group, the Sky Dog.
And then the Sky Dogs is, the delirium, if you ask to join the Delirium of Grandeur,
Yeah. The Delirium of Grandeur.
but that's a spelling test. Find the Delirium of Grandeur and don't do it as an interest, do it as the group, because there is somebody who put an interest, and there's like a whole bunch of people, and you can't subscribe an interest. I can't write on that. I didn't make it. Somebody was like, I like the Delirium of Grandeur. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, join the page, so I can tell you that.
Yeah, and you can, now that you can message pages and everything, feel free to like the Brass Apple page and message us.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm attached to my phone, and I have every way of accessing all that stuff on my phone. And so I'm constantly like, oh, okay, cool. I quickly respond.
I sometimes do.
Okay. No, that's true.
It's true.
Sometimes.
Next
Not
page.
often, sometimes.
I'm a very busy person, very busy. The next page that I like to give, particularly because nobody raised their hand at the independently wealthy thing, freecycle.org. You like the free page on the Craigslist, yeah? An entire web page of it.
Although honestly, in Austin, I found that the free portion on Craigslist is a little easier to work with than free cycle.
Then
So free cycle, like,
though?
yeah, oh yeah, and like in Dallas, Denton areas, stuff like that, North Texas areas, free cycle.
But Austin,
wonderful.
You're right, in Austin.
They're really weird and picky about the listings on free cycle in Austin.
So
And that's why it makes
Craigslist
it
is
difficult.
easier to maneuver.
Yeah.
We were talking about, okay, so, all right, sites you should know. brassgoggles.co.uk. One of the first and best sources for, they're one of the early steampunk websites. You can get really nice imagery and pieces from there.
And you'll lose yourself for a week if you really bother looking.
Yeah, if you start digging, you go digging.
Try to avoid all the like political
Oh, please don't.
inundating it. Just don't even bother.
But that's with any site anywhere, ever.
Well, it's just gotten horrible.
Oh, I haven't even been there in a little while, so
Yeah.
if it's awful, it's awful.
And it is based out of UK, so there's a lot of stuff out of the UK. And there's like this portion where you see stuff coming from the US. So, yeah.
If you guys are, how many of you guys are going to come to my writing thing next? I'm doing an author, so you want to be an author panel thing. Okay, cool. So for you, steampunkwriters.ning, N-I-N-G.com. Yeah, .ning.com. They actually have makers on that site, but it's mainly for the writer source. So
That's steampunkwriters.ning.com.
.ning, N-I-N-G,
N-I-N-G.
not Ming the merciless. Ning the not so nice. Okay, so let's move to costuming. Hey, wow,
Real
crazy.
quick on the resources there. Facebook, one of the groups, Texas Steampunk,
Oh yeah.
as well as the Austin Steampunk Society. But especially Texas Steampunks.
Austin Steampunk Society. Yes.
Yeah.
Ass.
Yes. Well, we like ass a lot better than the sissies, which is the Steampunk Illumination Society,
Which is
Sissies.
Yeah, sis.
I'd rather be an ass than a sissy.
I think ass is a little telling. It drives me crazy. You could be the ASA, you seriously.
Yeah.
Or the SAS. No, you don't want to be the SAS. You know, the SS of, yeah, which happens in the world of steampunk. Okay, costuming, purchased or patterns. Gentlemen'semporium.com. Excellent Victorian wear for men and women. Some really good deals can be found at this site, as well as it happens.
It goes both ways.
Retroscopefashions.com. Not for many. The independently wealthy love this site. Timeless Trends, which is timeless-trends.com. They,
Stand up.
yeah, this is my preferred corseter. One, they're local. Two, so you literally will get your order in a couple of days. Two, they're absolutely affordable. They have a section where like maybe one panel got sewn in upside down that's like, you can get a steel-boned awesome corset for $60, $70. Most of their corsets start at $99. And no, not at all. And these are steel-bone corsets and
Do they do repairs on corsets?
since they're local, maybe, you might want to talk to them, but just write them an email. Because, like I said, they have a warehouse here in town. They were the partner to Scarlett's Corsets, and they branched off. And I think somebody else has branched off from Scarlett's also recently, and I don't have their site. But they, excellent corsets, the Renaissance World, my Noelle has 22 of their corsets and counting, so yeah, it happens.
My sex has more corsets than she did.
Do they have any men's corsets? I've only
They
seen
do.
men's corsets
Yeah.
at eccentricities.
They do. They do have men's corsets, the waist cincher style, as well as, I actually have a vest style corset that I found online that is phenomenal. It's very masculine. It doesn't, it is, but the waist cincher style from the military of the late 1800s, early 1900s, so you end up with that tiny little waist and your shoulders like this. So the real human triangle thing, yeah, they have those. Laughing Moon make beautiful patterns, and their website is almost impossible to spell because it's annoying. LAFNMOON. You'd never find them on your own.
Nope.
The Laughing Moon make patterns, and they have a lot of materials. They're a wonderful shop. They're really cool. And then trulyvictorian.com is where I get a lot of the real women's patterns. They are exquisite. They came from the pattern books of the 1800s. These are actually researched directly out of, lifted from archival patterns. And
What's the name of the other pattern site with all the old, especially cultural ones, Japanese ones?
oh, what is that? Okay.
Folkware.com.
Yes, folkware.
Folkware.
If you want patterns for, basically for other cultures, as well as like even American, old, set patterns, etc., Civil War and onward, kind of deals. Folkware.com. They are a little pricey, but you're not going to really find them much anywhere else, so it's worth it.
Okay, that is my, and then of course, every single one of the big three have been cranking out Victorian era, Sherlock inspired, or some of them call them steampunk patterns. The driving coats, all of that. So there's your Joann's, your Hancock trip. Whenever those patterns are on for 99 cents a piece or $1 a piece. Butterick, Simplicity.
Simplicity actually has some really good ones.
Simplicity's been putting
like
out,
they've got
in
this-
my opinion, the best.
They like doing them in very period lines and like a whole good selection of them. Probably, I'd say probably some of the better ones on there. Butterick's ones, every now and then there's some good ones, but Butterick patterns are.
Yeah, you
You
do.
gotta tweak them.
Yeah. And then
If you
even.
get a Butterick pattern, actually, like the measurements that they give you on the flap, they're supposed to be the corresponding measurements. Don't go by those. Actually, open up your pattern piece, and there are measurements written on the pattern piece. Go by those.
Yes, something I wanna talk about,
The
and it's
pattern
gonna
of
seem,
anyway.
it is gonna seem like the most ridiculous thing in the world for people who are wanting to get their costume out, made, done, and out there. Make two. Make one in $1 a yard, 50-cent a yard muslin.
Yeah.
Once that seriously, it's gonna seem like the most ridiculous exercise in the world. It will drive you crazy. You've just doubled the amount of time it's gonna take you to put your costume together.
You'll be thankful.
Do it. Because once you have that muslin weird costume, first off, you've got a muslin weird costume that you can do things to. Secondly, if it needs interlining between the lining and you've got it, you've just built it. And 3, all your adjustments are made right there. You do everything with a single run stitch so that you can take it back apart after you've trimmed, rebuilt, and you've trimmed it to your body. Nobody is shaped exactly like a pattern that I'm aware of.
And women especially, if you've ever tried to actually do any of those patterns, it doesn't matter for simplicity, butters, or whatever. You've looked at it and gone, well, which size one do I need? Because my top is in this side. Well,
Yeah,
my
exactly.
bottoms are in this side. And,
Yeah. Oh, look, I have
and then you have to
a
work it all
46
together.
bust, but I've got a
Yeah.
28-inch waist, and
There's a lot of
are
tailoring.
probably a model somewhere. But in some special movie or something. But also, those patterns are never designed for you wearing your corsetry, wearing your undergarments. There's if you wear your undergarments as undergarments, not as outer garments, your shape is completely different. And also, if you're building it for wearing a corset over, you have to allow for more room before your corset goes on to cinch it back tight. These are just logical steps. You have to know what your outfit's going to end up being. Build one out of muslin. Make all of your adjustments in the muslin, then use the muslin pieces as your actual pattern. Then, on top of everything else, you no longer have a delicate wayfish falling apart at the breath of your dog paper pattern. You have a fabric pattern that you can use over and over and over again. And you're like, oh, this is my favorite outfit in the whole wide world. I'm going to make it in 7 colors.
Or that you can turn it into like a poster board form or something.
Yeah. The other thing is take that muslin and be very careful working it around the arm. All of these patterns, they design the arm opening up and down. That's not natural, it does not work. You have to have it slightly forward. So that's what you can work out in your muslin. Because what you do with the muslin, you're putting it on, you're going to draw lines on it to what actually fits your body. You're going to nip it. Sometimes you're going to actually cut some off. Sometimes you're going to sew in a little extra piece. Whatever you're doing on that muslin, you do all of that. But you'll see, if you want a better fitting costume, you start with the arm's eye and turn it slightly in. Unless it's a real big loose thing like this.
Right.
Because it's not going to fit your arm right. You're going to change your arm movement. And when you do, you're also going to change the way it fits. You're going to have it moving up and down. That's when you get the front creeping up. And the second thing you want to do is all of these patterns give you too big a back neck.
Yeah, they do.
The back neck, if you reach to the back of your neck, feel that little bump where the first vertebrae of your back is compared to the neck. You feel there's a little bump, and just above the bump there's a tiny hollow. Can you feel that? That's where the center back of your neck should be. And if you use a pattern, it's not going to be. So if you want it to lay properly, make sure you make the back of the neck just a tiny bit smaller, and you're going to get that from fitting.
Unless that's what you're going for.
Yeah, unless you
Unless that
are
is what
super
you're
Joe Cool.
And what
I know you're supposed to keep it there, so you can be like, well,
Sorry.
What I do with a muslin,
I go for that Dracula thing all the time.
I make
That arm
my
raising is
muslin
so exhausting.
out of an inexpensive material that I can use if I want to wear it. And then I trace it all back out on brown paper for a pattern.
Yeah, you can buy super long rolls of butcher paper.
Butcher paper, brown
really,
paper.
really
Yeah.
inexpensive.
Or packing paper that you get at
Yeah.
U-Haul or whatever, those
Yeah.
boxes of newsprint. You can use them to put your patterns on if you want, or like he said, tack board. And those are all good to put your patterns on, but if you wanna go to Joann's when their red tag section is 50% off, and you pick up a fabric that's close to what you want your good piece to be, and you can make one that becomes an everyday piece that you might be able to actually use as a second
It's
costume
true.
to wear.
Absolutely.
I do that even with gowns. I'm getting ready to do a show of gowns. I make a whole gown out of something cheap like it. Say it's a polyester or whatever. And then when I've got it all worked out, I take it apart, use it to create a new pattern. Then it can be finally sewn together and used as a cheap gown. And then the pattern is used to make silk and that type of thing.
Absolutely.
It's worth the time. And once you've made that pattern, you've got it. Any pattern from there on, you're just going to alter it a little to change your style lines.
Absolutely. One thing that I would strongly suggest is, whenever you mentioned Joann's and the sale, go on, if any of you don't have a smartphone, that's fine. Download the Joann's app.
Oh, yeah.
Download Retail Me Not.
Yes.
Those are the two that I strongly recommend at any time. Those two apps right there, because Retail Me Not has coupons from everyone. And Joann's, I use their separate ones specifically because I go to Joann's so often buying fabric that it's worth it to me to not have to search through Retail Me Not, who have Joann's on there. But the
Michaels has their own as well.
yeah,
so
and Joann now takes competitor
Yeah.
coupons.
Oh, yeah, they take competitive.
And it's
So-
great too, because like you can pull up the coupon and usually have the barcode there, so you
Scan
can
it on
actually
your phone?
just show them your phone, they scan it, boom.
And moving right along.
Now,
so,
another
yeah.
thing, if you want some kind of a better material and don't want to spend a fortune, in Austin, you're lucky, you have textiles over on Jones Road. And you can get some $100 and $200 fabrics at much, I don't know, $20 to $30. Now, that's only if you're gonna come up with wanting to make something nice.
If you'd like your costumes to be made entirely of silk, or if you're working
Yeah,
on
or
some
linen or something
beautiful
wool,
linen, yeah.
you can do
Wool,
that.
Jedis.
Yeah.
Go to text
Oh,
stuff. Yeah,
and you'd
text
be surprised,
styles,
and
right?
you'd be really surprised what you can pull off with wool.
Yeah.
He made a pair of hakama, like the Japanese hakama, out of an Italian suiting wool, like the
pants.
lining
Yeah.
stuff. And seriously, the stuff felt like silk, and it was a good breathable, weave as
Cost me $10
well.
a yard.
Absolutely fantastic. And he managed to sell them off at $100 a couple of eons ago,
Mhm.
and it made me cry because that's such a wonderful price.
That Italian wool would retail at $100 to $125 a yard. And if you buy what they call a remnant up at Golden Dior in Dallas.
Yes.
The
Three
videos,
up
brown
to
fabric.
3 yards, they'll have 2 to 3 yards. It takes about 3 yards to make a pair of Hawkins to make them right.
That's the
$30
big
bucks.
billowy pants.
Yeah, Harry Hines in Dallas is known for two things: prostitutes and fabric stores.
Yeah.
We're talking like the big warehouse fabric stores. These are the places like the fashion designers go to shop for their fabrics.
Yeah. I was gonna mention Fabric
Yes.
District in Dallas, and then Textiles
If
here.
you sign up for the mailing list from Golden Dior, twice a year, January and July, they have sales. And if you're on the mailing list, you get early notice, you can go up, and you also get special discounts, and you can go up. But they have a back room there, where everything is like $1 a yard.
There's like
And you go back and you can find anything.
And this is stuff that like is 20 a yard or more
30 a yard.
sometimes.
an entire fabric.
That they're pulling for $1 a yard. You wanted that really good stretch denim.
They wanna clear it out, it's in the back.
Okay, we have to shut up and let them ask questions, because seriously, we are at 10 minutes.
Woo! Ask.
Ready, set, hands.
Seriously, talk. For 10 minutes. We did it for 50, you do it for 10.
I'm kind of odd, I'm trying to find the best, I guess, examples or things that I can draw inspiration for, so I can do steampunk body art.
Oh, right, that's
So
right.
they're not gonna be wearing any clothing.
So she needs naked steampunks.
Well, I mean, do you want to actually do it as in, so like, sometimes you get body art where it's, the paintwork that's done is to make it look like the clothing.
Yes.
So, okay, if you want that, then really just dig around, Google steampunk.
And go to your images.
And look at like,
There is
all
so
of
much
the
art.
There's all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
But a lot of it depends on
But there
the
you
look that you
go.
want.
You have your aesthetic and your idea. I mean, I could give you pages and pages and pages, but if that's not your idea of what you want to paint, then it's not going to do you any good. It is far better for you to search, like seriously, Google image steampunk. You can look for like steampunk armor, steampunk, Victorian, steampunk accessory. Tag it with more than just steampunk.
Steampunk
And then,
clothing.
because again, my aesthetic comes from the Victorian era, you can just look up Victorian clothing,
Right.
and all of that. And then to steampunk it out, that's whenever you start making your decisions, like if you're gonna make clockwork people and things like that, you work from,
The steampunk conventions,
automatons.
honestly, I would make like a bookmark list of like the various steampunk conventions and find their,
Gallery.
their photo galleries and stuff, and all the picture, collections that people have taken through the conventions.
It's a good idea.
And sit there and look through those, so you can actually see a bunch of the outfits that are actually done and out there and worn, and see some really nice ones, and that can also help give you more specific inspiration and not have to feed through all the retail crap that's out there sometimes.
Right.
The other thing is you can always put the word traditional
Oh,
in
yeah.
front of your search.
If you want traditional, like anything non-Victorian, like traditional Japanese, that's the way you find it. And that way you can find stuff that, not the clothing
Not
specific, like traditional Japanese, that's not necessarily kimono. Go ahead.
Oh, just, you guys earlier mentioned 3D printing and software. I'm very interested in making cosplay props out of items like that, and I was wondering, is there any software that I don't have to pay $500 for to use that, or?
No.
Software, no. You can get a tech shop membership. There's a place here in Austin that is literally physically connected to a Lowe's. So all of your materials are right there. It's North Austin. It's called Tech Shop. I think it's techshop.com, but you can't quote me there. But the Tech Shop has a 3D printer, a vacuum form table, a water cutter, plasma cutters. They have laser printers. They have all the things, the machine shop, milling, woodwork, everything.
And then the
The
bigger-
shops run you about, the classes run you between $60 and $100 depending on the materials and having to turn on those machines. And then membership is like about $100 and something bucks a month, but they run specials. There is also hackerspaces.
Yeah, yes.
Anywhere you live, look up hackerspace. Hacker no longer necessarily means lead speak. 5 minutes, thank you. Hackerspaces, which are the same sort of thing, but they're a little bit more crowdsourced. Like one guy goes out and buys himself a CNC machine, and he can't do enough business on it, so he brings it to the hackerspace, and people pay to join and use it. The memberships there are notably cheaper, but signing up for those spots are often weeks, months in advance.
And do you guys use any, like, assuming I'm willing to pay for the software, do you guys use any specific type of software? Do you do any of that?
I don't know. Yeah.
But honestly, when it comes to a 3D printer, especially because it is still so new, if you're going to, there is some open source that's starting to develop for it. How good it is, how good it is a good question. I've recently seen some stuff on open sourcing it and all. But honestly, it's one of those things where if you're going to pay for anything, paying for the software for that stuff is a good idea. No one, it's just because sometimes really to get the capabilities you want, that's really what you need to pay for.
And
You can make your own CNC machine,
Well, yeah,
but
I've
the
seen-
software for those is crucial.
And for example, here at your booth in the dealer's room, you have a telegraph on a wrist thing. I was like, where do you get parts like that telegraph?
I am the biggest thrift
So
store.
it's like you go thrifting.
I am a thrift
Antique
surfer,
shops,
and
thrift
I don't, anytime the word antique is
Yeah,
outside,
that's
it's a terrible
that's-
idea. Junk shops,
Yeah.
Jump
aliens. unfortunately, we live in the age of the internet where everybody has researched what they have. My favorite junk shops are whenever I'm going to the next show, and I'm in the middle of Arkansas.
Yes.
Was it the Antique Mall in North Austin?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's just the Antique
The
Mall.
Antique Mall.
Yeah, Antique Mall in North Austin.
And the
That's a really
prices,
good place.
the prices vary drastically, depending on what their value is on it. Another thing, dude, we live not far from San Antonio, and that is the king of the flea markets. There's 7 just all the way around the outside, and they often don't know what they have.
And there's a couple flea markets that go on in Austin that are out near the airport, along 290 going that direction, or sorry, technically 70.
But I love me some garage sales. The citywide garage sale is sometimes a good source. Again, particularly for textiles, because there are people who come in and quite literally they sell full-size fur coats that somebody's like cut the sleeves out of or something for $8. If you need fur for your costumes, I used to do it for Renaissance Fair costumes for collars and pieces.
And you just mentioned that and reminded me, lodges, Mason clubs, etc., kind of thing. They'll have their certain amount of outfits, and they cycle through them periodically, and so then they go and sell them like in big mass sales.
And I get those.
And yeah, and so you can find those. There's a couple shops that specialize in actually purchasing those and then retailing them out again. But they usually don't mark up too horribly either. If you find good ones, I know there's one in Dallas that does that, as well as
Waxahachie.
theater and opera groups.
In Houston, every other year, I think, the Houston Opera has an open sale of every costume in the back.
Dallas Opera does the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to hunt it down, you have to look it up, and get yourself on a mailing list. But there are oftentimes places that you can get amazing pieces.
And here's the thing
that have toured.
that's really cool about costume and stuff like that from professional like theater and opera groups. The stuff is good. It's handcrafted. They use very authentic looking materials at least, so they're giving you the look, not necessarily the actual. But they're constructed well, because if you are going to have an outfit destroyed, it will be destroyed by an actor. Seriously, they will
Triple
rip through
C
that
to
stuff and
everything.
no problem. And these are things that have to go through just weeks runs of shows with these actors destroying them naturally,
Yeah.
and they last, so they're really well constructed.
So we are down to like a minute, so any final questions, or we will all do the Tappy Nancy thing? Yes?
I was curious as to, like, what materials would you recommend if you're doing a low society character for steampunk? Like, say you're doing, like,
What time frame, what setting, etc.
Yeah.
Garbage man.
Yeah, just in general as far as fabric.
Cottons, the heavier broadcloths, as I mentioned in the multicultural panel,
Looser weave.
our broadcloth is lightweight, for that time frame. With the durable stuff,
But you want,
patchworky.
you wanted to have a visual
Right.
line of woven fabric, because you want it to look as though it was inexpensively
What are they called?
pieced together. You want it to look homespun.
Yeah.
I can't think of it off.
There's light canvases as well that work really well for some of
And
that
then,
too.
and then they have the
Yeah.
fake, muslin. I use muslin a lot, particularly,
Heavier muslin.
again, with the Jedi stuff. There it is, $1.99 instead of $30 beautiful
So
linen,
yeah.
and you get that same flavor, and it breathes.
So we're all downstairs. They're in one corner. We're in the cat corner opposite of that together.
In that massive dealer room that you'll get lost in.
And
But try and find us.
Really, we're
Gotta
in
be
corners, so there's plenty of space to actually go and sit around and talk and not be in the way.
Absolutely. So we have to get out of their way, because their panel starts right this minute.